there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. Oh, I got a little halo on there, but this is what it looks like. I'm breaking out the archives. There's Mr. Tim Anderson, January, February 2011. Ooh, right after the housing bubble in 08, 9, 10, 11. We were just coming out of it. Let's, I always like looking to see what I was doing back then. This issue was 140 pages, so very healthy. Oh, I'm with my kid. I was a roller hockey coach. I'm a hockey guy, lacrosse player. But there I am with my kid, and we're at the roller rink, and he's about 210 bench and 300 pounds working for Boeing right now, but he was a little tykester back then. But I had a little more hair. My hair was a little brown, but there I am. I went to University of Denver. And I got my Denver swag on, promoting them. So anyway, but I was talking, actually my top picture there, I'm doing a little Taekwondo because I'm a black belt there too. But I always talk, I'm always talking about positive stuff. There it is, right in my title. Take a positive aim at the prospects of the new year. Got to stay positive, no negativity. So anyway, but Tim's still there. I think he just, I forget where he just went to, but anyway, he was at Aeropostale and a couple other brands, and now he's I think he's at 𝐊𝐉𝐻𝐾, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, Tim, thanks for gracing the cover, man. You're the man, and you're still around, just like me, still standing. So hope everybody's had a great weekend. It's getting kind of chilly here, I'll tell you, the ATL was nice and warm, Indian summer, but I'll tell you, tonight I put a long sleeve shirt on. I was going to get a sweatshirt on, and it is chilly, it's almost time, I think, to get the boat winterized before I crack another block, like I did last year, leaving it, when the warmth, and then the 1 week of cold came in, and boom, just cracked the block $8,000 later. So Bulldogs won, Braves lost. You got the NHL starting, so I got my old Thrashers garb on tonight, and all in all, you got Halloween coming up in a couple of weeks, and then Thanksgiving. Before you know it's, Christmas, Hanukkah, Festivus, and then boom, this year's over. I mean, we're in Q4. We only have, not many. I always do a TGIF on LinkedIn on Fridays, and I think I think there's 12 Fridays left, and we are done with this year. And I just thought I'd just start ringing in this year. This is the quickest year I think I've ever had, but all in all, hope everybody's having a great start of the week. And, before you know it, it will be TGIF here before you know it. So tonight, once again, I got a press release sent to me, and I'm reading it, and I'm a digital guy these days, and I'm taking these classes. I'm just about ready to launch my digital agency, and I'm all about mindset and communication and helping other people, and it's better to give than it is to receive, and all that kind of stuff. And I got this press release, and the gentleman I'm standing, his name is Jesse Hernandez, and I want to get his book title right. But anyway, he's the author of a book called Becoming the Promise You Are Included to Be. All right. And it's all about, helping people, and, your employees or your coworkers, or you have subcontractors, we're in construction, and how to communicate with them, and how it's so you can build and scale your business if you communicate the correct way. And there is a way to do it. So Jesse's out of San Antonio, Texas, one of my favorite towns. You got the Alamo, you got the Riverwalk, and we were talking earlier that I did an event down there on the Marriott Ranch, and he knew about it. And we had the Electric Bull. That was one of my best events we had done in a long time. For all you out there that went to that event, that Electric Bull that was awesome, man. And the way we did it, we had the top man and the top woman. They went for the ride off, and it was awesome. I only lasted for about 10 seconds on the thing. Thing bucked me right off, man. So, but anyway, Jesse, say hello to our audience out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
What is going on, folks? I hope you're enjoying your coffee.
Yeah. Listen, I don't care if it's coffee or hot chocolate. If you're in the ATL tonight, you got to drink something to stay warm, because I still got to go out there and walk the dogs, and I'm definitely putting on a hat when I go out there. I mean, it's definitely gotten chilly. So, Jesse, the way it works is we're going to do this in three parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, if you went to school, married, kids, sports, what have you, and how you ended up where you are today. Then we're going to talk about the last 3 years of lessons learned of the roller coaster that we've all been on. And even though we're kind of coming out of it, we're still talking about it, little bumps and, potholes that we're hitting, along the way. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase with our listeners out there. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Awesome, David. So I'll start like middle school, high school, because that's probably the most relevant stuff. San Antonio, born and raised San Antonio, Texas, South Side, still on the South Side. I'm a South Sider for life. The reason I'm picking middle school is because that's when I was put in this multilingual program, because I was like I got good grades in school. Like school was super easy. I didn't know how to behave, but I could do the work. The work was really easy. And so we went to this other school where it was like all college geared courses. Wasn't allowed to take any vocational courses. And that I was studying an extra language. So I was studying Latin, which led me to a specific magnet school. And then from there, I went to a different high school. Got kicked out a couple of times from middle school and high school, but I went back. And the reason that's important is because I was steered away from vocational courses. Everything had to be super college geared, right? Which was fine because I was, class was easy. And then when I graduated high school, my goal, my mission was to play professional baseball. I did not have the height. And because like the internet wasn't a real big thing back then, the Astros couldn't find me. That's the only reason they didn't come, knocking on the door. And so I was attempting to be a walk-on at the Tyler Junior College on the baseball team. And I had like enough money to pay for my tuition, but I didn't have enough money to pay for room and board. So I got a summer job. My dad's a plumber. And I had been doing plumbing with him coming up, and I had absolutely no intention on becoming a plumber because I hated working with my dad, because that's when I wanted to be watching cartoons and riding my bikes and goofing off with my friends. Anyhow, I got that summer job so I could save up money to pay for my room and board. And I swear I walked on that job site, and when I worked with my dad, it was mostly residential stuff. This was a commercial job. It was a renovation of a high school here in San Antonio. And I was like, this is amazing. All the noise, nobody was bugging me about being too loud or moving around too much, right? The noise was awesome. All the stuff that was happening, there was a competitive nature about doing the work, like I'm faster than him, and all this. The amount of like problem solving that you have to do to like just figure out how to do whatever it is you got to do, the physicality of the work, all of those things, like I knew by the end of the week, like this is it. This is what I need to do. Because when I was in school, when I was in the classroom, I was always in trouble. Like, settle down, Jess, be quiet, Jess. Why are you talking so much? Why are you moving so much? Well, like all the things that were natural to me were like a defect. But on the job site, the things that were natural to me were of value. And so I decided I'm not going to go to school. I'm gonna do this plumbing thing. So I got into an apprenticeship program. Luckily, I had some good journeymen that guided me and offered me good advice. It's not to say that my dad didn't give me advice, but I'm sure I didn't hear it. Like, it didn't matter what he said, I wasn't going to listen
right
to
over
him.
you. Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, yeah, whatever, Dad, you don't know. But Patrick, the first journeyman I worked with, said, dude, you should get an apprenticeship. Okay. Johnny Martinez said, dude, you should go get this card, submit your application in the state of Texas to become a registered apprentice. And so I did these things, and I found an apprenticeship program. And I stuck it out, got my journeyman license, got my med gas, master plumb, like, I got the credentials. And at that point in my career, like, that's what I was going to do. I just wanted to be the best journeyman on site. And then I got promoted to foreman. And the reason I took the foreman role, I had my license like a year. And I got promoted to be a foreman at this one project. And I'm like, I didn't want to do it. I didn't know how to do it, but I knew that most of the foremen I worked with sucked. And what I mean by that is they treated people horribly, right? Like, they hoarded information. They were not great people to work with. And so I just figured, well, I think I can do it better than them. And I'm just going to learn how to do that. And so I did. And my only goal then was to be the best damn foreman that we had and beat all my peers. I worked for a mechanical contractor. We did plumbing, piping, and HVAC. And over time, like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of a cerebral guy, nerdy. I like to read. I'm always like, I got to learn. So I got introduced to lean construction, last planner system specifically, and I started practicing that, and it made things easier. It made it look like I was good. I wasn't good. I just made fewer mistakes. And I used the system to like minimize the disruption in my day, which my jobs performed better. I got more trained. The company invested in me. Fast forward, that led into me promoting super fast because I was able to get results and I was able to develop my team. And I got to superintendent, then I got to general superintendent, then I got into training and development, because along the way, your audience has probably experienced this. You know, as a journeyman, I was really good and I was fast, right? Like I could put it in work and it was good. It was high quality. And then they said, be a foreman, which is a totally different skill set. And all I got was a couple of binders and some stuff, timesheet stuff, safety stuff I had to do. And they said, go do it. And then I went in every month to report, you know, we did project reviews to check the financial status of the project. And I got told how much I sucked and then I needed to get better. But nobody could help me get better as a foreman. And when I figured that out, I started getting good at being a foreman. I got promoted. And they gave me keys to the truck, a computer, and said, go be awesome, go be a superintendent. And I sucked again. Like I had to learn how to do those things. And I was an employee-owned company, so there was a profit, like a generous profit sharing program. And I knew, like, I could do the math, right? Like, okay, if I save this many labor hours, that equates to this many dollars, and that percentage of that goes into my pocket. Like, duh. We don't make money at the end of the project. We don't lose money at the end of the project. We make and lose money every hour of the project. So I figured out how to do that. And again, had some financial success and decided like, well, if I could teach all my foremen how to plan and decipher the stuff the way I do it, I can make more money. The company makes more money. And people stop quitting. People stop living miserably because to be in the foreman role in the superintendent position, you really, really gotta want it, because nobody, like the foreman role, especially of all the positions I've held, that is the hardest role I've ever heard or ever played. So anyways, because it was painful and because like there was personal pain on the human being and there was business pain, I started doing training, like informal, helping people like learn how to do the business processes, read the estimates, do some forward planning, etc., so that they can be successful. That led to like formally putting together transitional training that took installers, from journeyman to foreman, and from foreman to superintendent, so that it eased that learning curve and the pain it had on the human being. Again, because I was learning these things and practicing these things, leadership really caught my attention. I was going to night school at the time at the community college here because my apprenticeship program partnered up with the community college, where I would get like 32 hours of experiential credit towards a degree in construction business management, an associate's degree. I never finished it, but I did, and because I like learning stuff. Anyhow, from there, I started speaking and teaching in local industry organizations, specifically the lean stuff with the AGC, Associated General Contractors. That put me in front of other general contractors. So I got recruited. Mike �𝐸, who's my boss twice now and good mentor of mine, he recruited me away from the mechanical contractor to go work for the GC. The job was going from, what I was doing, training and development. I was also responsible for studying and understanding the financial projections and our labor projections, project manager, superintendent, and calling balls and strikes and saying, y'all
Yeah.
are way off track. We got a problem. We need to figure this out. And then because I had the experience of doing the installations, I would go out and do some triage and help balance things out. Anyhow, they recruited me to be their regional lean manager. So I was going from working in San Antonio, living in San Antonio my entire life, to go work for the biggest builder in the country and travel across the United States to teach the people that I really didn't like, right? Like most of my career, I didn't like general contractor people because they were jerks to me. Now I was going to be one of them and I was supposed to teach them. So it was a huge learning I went through, or maybe reconciliation I had to go through in regards to like my self-image, because I just thought I was a skinny little plumber from the south side of San Antonio. And I'm talking about these big wigs now, right? So I was there for about 3.5 years. That was amazing. I had a tremendous learning there. And it led to an opportunity to go work for a owner operated firm as their director of environmental health and safety for the whole thing, for the whole construction department, which was another like, like, this is a big step. I have no business being here, but I did. So it was that kind of like, no, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Along the way there, during the mishap, the exciting time, I became very super clear about what gave me the most fulfillment. So I was working an exit plan back before, about, we'll say 3 years ago. I started working this exit plan so that I could launch my own business. And that started with me launching a podcast. Along the way, after starting the podcast, then some other skills and abilities started revealing themselves to me, skills and abilities that I had. And so inevitably, I was working towards launching my own business. I've never launched a business before. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, and I did it anyways. And here we are, I don't know, just shy of 2 years of me running my own business, having an amazing experience, having published 2 books, learning live stream. You and I were talking before, like editing podcasts and do like all of that stuff. I did not know how to do that before, but I learned it along the way. And another really critical takeaway I had along that way is, I got to work with a ton of leaders. When I was on the trade contractor side of the business, I worked with at least 50 different general contractors, all kinds of leadership styles. When I worked for the general contractor, traveled the country with some of the best, best and brightest leaders, also many, many leadership styles. When I worked with the other firm, same thing. And it was interesting in that there was one very specific thing that separated the great ones from the regular. And it wasn't their pedigree, it wasn't their education, it was how willing they were to listen to other people, period, bar none. And there were very, very, very few of them. And so I started exploring that, and I was able to see like their level of influence was directly connected to their ability to listen, and their ability to listen and connect with people was 100% proportional to the level of vulnerability that they demonstrated on a regular basis. So that, like, I mean, I can say it now and it sounds smart, but when I was noticed, I was like, what the hell are they doing? Like, they're different. Why is it? What is it? What? And so I spent a lot of time thinking about it. And now I feel like I kind of teased it out enough, so much that it's mostly what I focus on when I'm teaching continuous improvement and process improvement and all that stuff. The thing I focus on first is, what are your like your communication skills? And I don't mean like mouth noise skills. I mean listening skills. And what's your humility? What is your vulnerability like? Because if we tweak those things, everything else is easy. If we leave those things underdeveloped, things will continue to be extremely, extremely difficult.
Oh yeah. Listen, you wanted to be a baseball player, right? That's what you
Yep.
wanted to do. So I wanted to be a hockey player. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to play a professional hockey. I got my lacrosse sticks behind me. I didn't pick one up until I was a sophomore. I actually ended up being a better lacrosse player than I was hockey. But anyway,
Nice.
I went to hockey school every summer up in Canada, and it was a horse riding school. It was called the Hockey Ranch. It was outside in a place called Pickering, Ontario. And my
Okay.
family's been in construction since 1888. All right.
Woo.
Fifth generation, I was named after my great grandfather, David Pollock, and it's called Mayor Pollock Steel. We were in recycling and demolition. We were in sustainability before that was even a word. And, and all the grandsons went. I was outside of Philly, about 15 minutes west of Valley Forge. But when you got your driver's license at 16, all the grandsons had to work in the scrapyard. And my Uncle Frank, I know some of you helped me talk about my Uncle Frank, but he was one badass superintendent foreman. And, I had to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. And, but Uncle Frank, if you're up there listening, okay, may you rest in peace. I want you to know I learned a lot of stuff from you. Okay. And, I basically you molded me. And, my grandfather was a combat engineer in World War II underneath Patton. He built all the bridges that the Allies bombed. And anyway, I come from a construction background. So I was always down at the scrapyard, playing in the trucks, playing in the cranes, and all that stuff. And then I shoveled asbestos. I was the hose man. I welded. I laid railroad tracks. I built paint booths. I mean, I did all that stuff. I made good money. At 16, I was making, really good money.
Yeah.
I just didn't like taking the showers at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because OSHA wanted all the lead off me, So, but now my cousins, they're still running the business, and they're kicking tail. And, but, when I got into, but I was always kind of a rough edge dude. And so when I got into publishing, they made me go to Dale Carnegie. That when I'm national sales manager for one of the magazines. So I went to Dale Carnegie. They look, you need to learn how to communicate. You're too hard on your people. And I was an athlete. So I was always kind of thinking that, the coach, because the coach has to deal, if you're a baseball coach, you got all sorts of people that are on there. You got to be able to, not everybody's going to take it the same way. Just like if the coach comes out to the mound, he's got a pitcher. One pitcher will give him the other ball. The other guy won't want to give it to you. You can watch, last night that the Astros, they had to take one of their guys off. He didn't want to come out, but that's the way it goes. So, but the biggest thing that I learned was that you got to stick a stock in your mouth and listen with your ears. And the biggest thing that I learned about from Dale Carnegie was that I watched people that were terrified of public speaking or any of that stuff. And at the end of the class, they actually could do it. And I actually liked Dale Carnegie so much that I actually became a student teacher, so I went down there for about almost a year because I liked the guy that taught me. And so I became a much more of a leader. And then after 9/11, Nielsen they bought our company, and then that honeymoon lasted 18 months. And then they whacked about 50 magazines or whatever's in their portfolio. My little construction book got the axe, and I offered to buy it. They didn't want to sell it, and I resigned. December 17, 2001. I bit the entrepreneurial apple, but I knew how I wanted to run my company. Okay. I still wanted to run it like a tight ship, but I knew that I wanted my people to have fun. I wanted to make sure that, we had a job to do, that we wanted to do it first class. We're going to make mistakes. Everybody makes it. You're going to learn from them. You're going to improve from them. If you've got good ideas, speak up. Just all of those little things that, I learned. And I take a lot of from my athletic career, and that, winning, losing, individual play, sports, it just, it builds your thick skin, because when you get out into the real world, playing baseball, playing lacrosse, hockey, look, it's fun. It's tough. You get hurt, you get bruised, whatever, but when you go out in the real world, you better have thick skin, because it's vicious out there, especially in construction. Okay. Hey, my bagel is not toasted. Okay. Am I right?
Yeah.
So I can I can throw so many walks through you. We could talk all night about that kind of stuff. But anyway, but you got those kind of people out there. And the biggest thing is that, especially if you're an employee-owned business, you got skin in the game. So you might as well learn how to communicate. And so it your story is like deja vu listening to. It really is. And then you bit the entrepreneurial apple and you went out. Just like, our podcast, like in March of 2020, I went and bought my mic. I was going to interview people, PMs and supers and foremen. So the favorite people that you were. And I was going to do them on the construction site, wherever I was traveling. But then, everything, the roller coaster came, that wasn't available. So I started doing it. I looked at some of my episodes that I was awful. And, I used and I just laugh at myself. And my people used to laugh at me. I didn't care, I've gotten better. I'm still getting better. I learn from everyone that I do. But the biggest thing is that you just have to take action. You'll wish if you start something today, a year from now, you'll wish you're gonna be glad you didn't. If you don't take action, and it doesn't matter what you do. Like I said, I went out. I didn't know what kind of mic I was going to buy. I didn't know. I just went out and bought one. I'm like, okay, what am I going to call it? Oh, commercial construction coffee. I told my artist, make me a logo, and then I just kind of threw this thing out, but it's blossomed, and I have fun with it. I just I've actually started putting guest hosts on my podcast just to kind of give it a flair, because people just influencers that I'm with, they're like, hey, you should put those in there. It's kind of like Johnny Carson having Jay Leno or other guys, or Joan Rivers or whatever, for those of you that that know those names out there, that they would sit in and do the show. It kind of gives it a different flair as long as they run it kind of the same way. And so I'm starting to do that as it is. And it's the day I stop learning is the day I should go do something else. But communicating and listening is probably, and making people feel that that their job it's not a job, you're part of the family. And I've been taking this digital class for over a year. We call it a tribe. I'm a member of the tribe. I'm a family, and we're all in this together, and we're all trying to help each other, and other people are at different levels, and some people didn't even know how to reduce a screen, and you're going through that kind of stuff. But you want all these people, and those little guys are probably going to become millionaires. They're the one, and the other people that you think that aren't, you just don't know. And and my son, we yanked him out of school. He wanted to be a car tech. I said, if you don't own your own business, you're not going to make any money. You're going to work for a dealer, and you're not going to make jack
forever.
Then he wanted to be a motorcycle tech. I said, you better do it in a warm state where they ride all year. Then we took a tour of an airplane, and I yanked him out of school senior year. They wouldn't put him in the shop class because he didn't have the mathematics skills. I said, look, there's 3,500 people in this high school. If there's one kid that you want to put in the school, it's him. He's not interested in history or English or anything. He just wants to work with his hands. He's flipping bikes, he's flipping cars. I'm sorry, Mr. Corso, he yanked him out. He took online his senior year, still had his buds, but he worked in the local garage. He waited tables and all. And now he's on the flight line at Boeing working on $350 million planes at 24.
There you go.
And he's getting his pilot's license. He's going to solo next week. And
nice.
He's already put his business plan together. He wants to get a plane. He wants to own his own at 24. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I had him on my podcast about 6 months ago, and I thought I'd hear this from him 20 years from now. But he goes, "Hey, Dad, I want you to know, if you weren't as hard as he's called me Sergeant Carter. You know who Sergeant Carter was? Our file, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he goes, hey, if you weren't as tough as me, and I coached him all through lacrosse and hockey. I never played daddy ball. He goes, look, if you were as hard as me, if you were, I would have never gotten this job at Boeing. I wouldn't have never gotten hired." And I said, wow, I thought I'd hear that 20 years from now. Because I always told him, I said, look, I know you're not going to listen to me. I know you think I'm full of crap. But the bottom line is 20 years from now, you're going to look at me, if I'm still around, and say, hey, man, you were so right. And he just said it earlier than I thought he was going to say it. But I told him to become a plumber. I said, everybody's got to drink water. They got to take a shower. You got to cook with it.
Forever.
He's like, oh, I don't like the plumber jokes. I'm like, oh, my God, when you're making $1 million, don't worry about the plumber jokes. Let him say it.
Yes.
We did the same thing. We were going to go find a guy that had a plumbing business that didn't have any kids, had no one to give it to. He had no exit strategy. I said, you can become an apprentice. We'll buy the thing and you can write your ticket. And so that whole concept of doing all that stuff, that was another deja vu when you were talking about, and And, listen, my dad was very tough on me, so I didn't want to work for him. And
Yeah.
I told him, I said, he's like, Dad, can I take the publishing business over? I'm like, hell no. You got to go out and get fired a couple times. Go out and see
Yeah.
what the real world is. And when you prove yourself, then you can come back and work for me if you want to, you know.
Right.
But I'm
Right.
not Sergeant Carter when I work. I mean, I'm very look, I'm demanding, but I also know everything about the company. I've done everything. I've
Right.
cleaned the area. I take the trash out. I do the editing. I figure out who, I'm still a manufacturer. I build this magazine every month and I'm proud of it. I built this. I used to do it with
Yeah.
paper and ink and a publisher, a printer and the post office. Now I do it
Wow.
digitally, but I'm building them every month. So I'm still a builder. And I'm proud of every month that, I always find something like, oh, that's cool. And if someone has I look at 40 or 50 magazines a month digitally and some still in print. If I see something really cool, I might just say, hey, I'll tweak it. And that's a really good idea. I wish somebody came up with that. And then some people have copied me. Flattering's like the best thing that can ever happen
That's
to
it.
you, So,
Oh yeah.
talk about, so, you wrote 2 books. What's the other book called?
So the other book is titled Lean in Love, 5S in Relationships.
Was that your first one and the second one?
That's the first one.
Okay.
Me and my co-author, Jennifer Lacey, put that out. I think it was like last year sometime.
And so
And
then
then the second one is Becoming the Promise You Are Intended to Be. And that one just released June of this year. And that one's all me.
congratulations,
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. On my to-do list is my 2 books are going to be, I want to take all my publishers columns from all my last 24 years, and I want to put them,
Yeah.
life of a publisher. And because I always take a personal take on life in general. The whole book, my whole magazine's construction. So I always take a personal take on, where I stand. Don't get political or any of that stuff because it's not worth it.
Right.
But just a general, good feeling, some are sad, whatever. And then I want to tell my story because I think it's listen, I went to prep school, just like I took Latin,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
learned physics. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I got decent grades. If I had to do it, I would have gotten better grades. Maybe I would have gotten to it. But you know what? I ended up, I was an athlete. I wanted to go play hockey and lacrosse. That's what I did. I thought I was going to, play for the Rangers. So, but tore a knee up and they weren't my career, but I'm still playing in the old man's league and I'm,
There you go.
yeah. So, but, you know, talk about the last 3 years. So, you became an entrepreneur probably at the worst time ever. And talk about some of the things, even though you were a communicator, how you weathered the storm, to, get the word out. Plus, you put 2 books out too.
Yeah. So like when the roller coaster hit, at that time, I was traveling across the country, right? Primarily the central United States. Because we had business units in Denver, Dallas, Kansas City, uh, Omaha, Des Moines, Houston,
Yeah.
So that was like my service area. Had team members that I was supporting over there, very talented, amazing dudes. Anytime I had an opportunity to go to the high schools, middle schools, talk to parents, educators, and students about careers in the industry, I jumped all over it. I couldn't do that anymore because schools were shut down. My job, I was traveling to Denver, Dallas, Omaha, Houston, Kansas City, Des
Flyover
Moines,
country.
Iowa, all over the place, right? Like I was everywhere. All of a sudden, I had to stay home. I was maybe slept in my bed 3 nights a week. The rest of the time, I was at an airport, I was at a hotel, I was at a job somewhere or one of the offices. So all of a sudden, I was home. I wasn't going anywhere. So it was a shock, but I had an enormous amount of time to think. And I started feeling sorry for myself real quick, right? Because I can't go to schools anymore. And I was watching a biopic of Danny Trejo, and it has like no connection except in my brain. He made a comment. Somebody asked him, like, you've been on, 50 or 60 or 100 Hollywood movies, and you've never been the leading man. And they said, how do you feel about that? He said, I don't care. They pay me.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, I
Laughing
get
all the
paid.
way to the bank.
Yeah. Yeah. He said, I get paid. And the money that I get paid, like, supports the thing that I really love, which is he goes to prisons because he's an ex-con He goes to prisons and talks to them about recovery and what it's like, what you got to do, how you can change your mindset. And I was like, for some reason, that said to me, I don't have an excuse. I can do something about my situation. So I said, you know what? I'm going to launch a podcast. Like, if I can't go to schools, I can start at least getting a message out about celebrating the craftsmen and women that have built a career in the industry. So I called up a buddy who had interviewed me, like my first podcast interview ever. I said, hey man, how do I do this? He's like, dude, you got a laptop? I said, yup. He said, you got a headset? I said, yup. He said, then all you need to do is get this thing and that thing, and you're like done, ready to go. I said, geez. So like you said earlier, I still have episode 0 available, and the audio is like horrible and chopped, like but it's awesome, right? To go back and say, man, we've come a long way. What also happened at that time, so I launched the podcast. That's an important stream or thread in the story. I also got to evaluate like life. So the job I had was a dream job. I loved it. Like, I got to travel around and teach people and help people and support people, make things better for the project teams, etc. But there was this sliver of stuff that I did that was ultra fulfilling. And I'm like, what is it? And so what it was is, whenever I work one-on-one with somebody, like on a coaching relationship, or with small teams for an extended period of time, I could see the transformation in the way they functioned, in the way they communicated, in the way they operated. I could see them make the different decisions that like improve their quality of life, not just at the job, beyond that. And I'm like, that's what it is. That's what I love doing. I'm going to figure out how to do that all the time. And so I just did some real quick math, and I said, okay, what is my cost of living on my current lifestyle? Okay, multiply that times 18 months. It's okay. I need to get that much cash in the bank, and I'm gonna start a business. Like, that was my true super technical business plan.
Entrepreneurial 101.
Right? Like, let's go. And so it was gonna take a while for me to get that cash. Kept going with the podcast. And like, the idea of like starting my business was kind of a funny, right? Like, yeah, like, I'll do that. Anyhow, as a result of the podcast, several people would reach out to me, like strangers, I didn't even know them, for consulting services or coaching services. I'm like, why in the world are you calling me? And they're like, because I'm like, who's pranking me? What? Who told you to call me? Like, no, man, I listened to your podcast, and this episode you were talking about da 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 da, and I think you can help me with that. Another guy called, like, man, I'm stuck in my career, and I think you can help me. And I'm like, oh my good, like, I call them the whispers, right? The signals, the data points that are telling you do this thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm really gonna do it. And then I had an idea. So the first book, I had got these letters from an ex. They were like breaking up letters. But what she did was she contextualized the 5S system, which is sort, set, shine, standardize, and sustain, right? That's this thing. She applied it to our personal relationship. And I was like, oh my God, this is genius. I can't do it, but I know it's going to help a lot of other people, just not me, right? So I called my friend Jennifer. I said, Jen, what do you think about doing a live stream about these letters? And she said, I think you're crazy, but let's do it. So we did it. And then people started showing up, and people started asking questions. And it was just she and I, like, being vulnerable about the dumb stuff that we did. And people online started sharing their fears and their concerns and their struggles. It was like, oh my goodness, there's something happening here. What is this? And so that continued. And that turned into, now we have No BS with Jen and Jess. It's a live stream we have every other Saturday at 8 a.m. Central. Imperfect conversations about the human side of business. And we just talk, right? And interact with it's mostly the folks that are in the chat that make the show, because they have great comments and great questions. Well, anyhow, what I learned from that was how powerful vulnerability is. Like, the fact that I was willing to share my mistakes, my embarrassing moments, and so forth, it gave people permission to do the same. It helped them trust me instantly. And I'm like, oh, that's a thing. So what Jennifer and I did was we turned those live streams into a book, because people were asking, they're like, hey, I wish there was like some cheat sheets or some cheat notes somewhere so we didn't have to watch 8 hours of content, like just the high points. I said, oh, well, hell, let's turn it into a book. So we did that, which it's worked out super well. It's helped a bunch of people. And that was the whole point, right? If it just helps one person, that's the whole point. And then more people started asking for services and reaching out. And here's the thing, like, I thought I had to go have this major impact on a big nationally recognized brand so that I could have credibility, so that I could start my consulting business. What I found out by just doing live streams and sharing me, I already had credibility. I just didn't know it. And everybody else saw it, except for I was the last one to see it. And so that really gave me the confidence to like, okay, this is going to happen. I got the money in the bank, said, okay, last thing I need to do is buy a house. Once I buy the house, because I need a real job to finance it, then I'm going to launch my business. So that's what I did. And around that time is when I picked up the second book, which is Becoming the Promise You're Intended to Be. So, okay, now I've got time to really dive into this thing. And I started it a while back and I put it away, and then I picked it back up. And the first rendition of it was like patty cake. It was weak sauce. You ever go to a restaurant and say, we got hot sauce? Give me the hottest sauce, and it ain't hot. That's what that book was. And man, this is horrible. So a friend of mine, Donna Bender, she was like, hey, have you ever tried speech to text? I said, no, great idea. I was in South Carolina for some stuff for one of my weekend getaways. And I decided, I said, you know what, I'm going to tell these stories. I made a list of life stories, life experiences that I had that were painful, embarrassing, shameful, all the stuff, and what I learned from them. And so that's what I did. I drove around and I just told the stories, crying and ugly crying and everything. And after they populated to text, I came home and started looking at it. I was like, oh my God, like this is it. This is the book. It's these stories of like the real ugly truth of the things that I did or didn't do, etc., and what I learned from them. Because I know the power, like I discovered the power of vulnerability, but I also know that there's a tremendous number of people that are suffering in silence, and they think they're all alone. They think they're the only one. Chronic uniqueness, right? And so if they get to read my story, they're going to get, and they manage to read the whole book, they're going to say, like, if that dummy did all of these things and he's still okay, I'm going to be fine, you know? And so that was where the book came from. And then along the way, my business has been amazing, right? In terms of the clientele I get to serve, they're very progressive, courageous leaders that are doing something, that are investing in their people to help them have or experience an environment where they can thrive and grow as individuals and professionals. And so that's where the whole listening thing comes in, right? Is getting to tweak, like they're courageous enough to try some of the crazy things that I'm recommending, and they're experiencing the results of that. And again, like I launched my business. This is a true story. A friend of mine, like I quit my job. I'm going full-time work. People at work would say, hey man, we heard you're on your own. Or I was like, yeah, I just quit. All right, cool. Let's have breakfast. Okay, cool. So we have breakfast on Friday. And they're talking about a leadership retreat that they were having that they needed somebody to facilitate. And like, man, I don't really know anybody. And they're like, no, dummy, you. I'm like, seriously, I'm like, oh yeah, well, ooh, like, what's your rate? I'm like, bro, like, I don't know. I just like, hold on. And so we kicked some numbers around. He said, yeah, do that. I said, okay. And then he says, invoice, like, send me an invoice and I'll have a check for you for the day of the event. And I said, bro, I don't even know how to do an invoice. Like, slow down, man. I don't know what I'm doing. Thank you. And you know, it's really been that way in terms of me connecting with folks to do business, to deliver services. And I think rather, I 100% believe that it is because of the vulnerability and the listening and the pay, you know, it's all of it, showing all the cards and saying, this is what you get. This is my flavor. You can take it. I would love it. And if you don't, I still love you. Like, it's okay. You don't have to love me, right? You can go pick somebody else, but this is what you're going to get with me.
Hey, you know, when I told my wife, you know, I've been a publisher for a long time. You know, I've worked my tail off. I've up and down, and you know, it's just been it's been an exciting thing. Wouldn't change anything. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. Number one.
Exactly.
Number two, if you don't like what you're doing, you're not having fun, go do something else. Because life is short. Number three, if you're hanging out with negative people, it's like cancer. Get rid of them. I don't have time for it. You don't want to play in my sandbox? There's plenty of other sandboxes. I got a lot of people who want to play in my sandbox. See you later. Bye. My life's moving on with or without you. That's just real. And it's not, and I'm not ashamed to say it like that. But when I told my wife I wanted to become a digital guy and, you know, become an influencer or what have you. And listen, I'm not Joe Rogan. Okay. I don't have, you know, 70 million people listen to me, but you know, here's a guy that was a UFC dude, man, you know, he's just talking about basic stuff, flying a couple F-bombs here and there. And, you know, but I just kind of, you know, listen, mistakes are if you're not making mistakes, you're not growing. I don't care what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're a plumber, doesn't matter if you're an artist, doesn't matter if you're an athlete. If you're not making mistakes, you're not going to learn. And the biggest thing, like tonight on my digital class, he said they had this box and it was like lack of money, lack of time, and the last box was fear.
Oh yeah.
Fear of technology, fear that you won't understand how to do ChatGPT, or fear of mind journey, how to make talking avatars. Look, it's push button 101. Once you do it, it's freaking easy. You just have to try. Get rid of the fear. And, you know, it's like if you get bucked off a horse, what's the first thing you do? You get back on. You know what? So, you know, okay, you struck out last time on the baseball field. Well, guess what? If that pitcher's still out there, you go back and knock the ball out of the park next time, okay? Because you learned where his curveball's going or what have you. So it's the same gig, you know, and if your people see that you're humble enough to know that you made mistakes, they're going to pick up on that and they're going to make their mistakes, but hopefully they're going to have more wins, you know. And look, small wins, they all add up. It's always the sum is bigger than the whole. So I'm all about, you know, as a coach, you know, after my son graduated, I still coached, you know, in the rec league and the select teams, and I didn't have any kids on the team. So I used to tell the parents, I'm like, look, my job is to make sure that your kid he's an 8th grader. He's got talent. But when you get to the high school, guess what? Only the best players play because they want to play to win. So my job is to take your son, and by the end of 3 months of the fall season or the spring season or summer, you'll see a completely different player. But we're going to play as a team, but he'll still have his individual flair and, you know, that kind of stuff. But I'm going to teach them that when we're going to run a varsity practice or a college practice. So when they get up there, they'll know what they're getting into. And, and you know, listen, all the parents, you know, some of them didn't like me. I didn't care. I was like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to run. This is a business. I want to take this select team. I want to win, but I'm going to lose some games too. You know, sometimes you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but you're going to learn from every one of them. And all the little things that you did that you made mistakes over your life, you know, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I look at all those things and it's shaped me to who I am today. And 100%. I had the guy on. He got in a car accident and he spoke at my event. His name is Nick Scott. Anyway, he became a world champion wheelchair bodybuilder, and then he became a wheelchair champion dancer, and he was on like Dancing in the Stars. But I said, I made this comment when I had him on the podcast. I said, yeah, you know, I always look at the glass half full or half empty, but I'm always looking at it's half full. You know, it's not, it's going to be partly sunny, not partly cloudy. I'm always taking the positive. He goes, you know what, David? You should just be glad you have the glass in your hand so you can make that decision. And that stuck with me since then. It was like an epiphany went off in my head. And so it's just those little things that kind of just tingle you, and you hear something and you're like, wow, it just made clear sense. So are your books on Amazon? Is that what you're selling?
Yes, both books are on Amazon. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so we'll put those links in the description, you know, on this podcast and stuff. And what an awesome story. I mean, you know,
Thanks.
dad's a plumber, you know, you're working for him, you're doing all this stuff, then you know, you get thrown out, super, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, that's the best training you get, on the job training, man. School of hard knocks. You learn from the street.
Yes,
And you go out and you go do it, you get beaten up, you win some, you lose some. And what a stroke of luck. Yeah, I'm going up and down. Hey, we want you to run this, we want you to be the keynote, man. Talk about it. I don't even know how to do an invoice. That's okay. You know, I mean, you know, I'm looking at these guys chat, you know, I'm learning these tools. This guy's wrapping this stuff off, you know, and I'm just like, oh my God, man, you know, but then after a year of learning all this stuff, I'm just like, hey man, I am ready to freaking rock and roll. I mean, I'm at the tail end. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I can't wait to launch my digital agency and help a lot of people out there, not jag them with all these other guys that are charging thousands and thousands of dollars. I just want to, you know, go in and help them because they've supported me. I'm going to show them some love back. And so you and I are definitely cut from the same cloth. And
yes, sir.
you know, so if someone wanted to reach out to you, you know, about your books or speaking or, you know, just, you know, hey, tell me what the link is to your podcast show. How would they reach out to you?
Yeah. The best way, there's two best ways. One is to my website, which is depthbuilder.com. The other is on LinkedIn. Don't get me wrong, like I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Insta, I'm on all of it. But LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time. I'm very focused on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you got to be on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So LinkedIn and then the website. And then anywhere else you find me.
So if you're out there, you know, you want to learn some communication skills, or you know, you want to, you know, hey, maybe you want to write a book, maybe you want to, you know, become a better leader, you know, stick a sock in your mouth, keep your ears open, and call Jesse. Okay. If anybody wants to reach me, you can get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. Once again, I know you don't like when I say this, but the bottom line is if you don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win. And if you don't send me something, a press release, guess what? Jesse, I had to cancel today, and Jesse, timing of business is everything. His publicist sent me something. I called him up, and I said, hey man, I'm looking for someone for my thing. Is he open? He came back, I'm busy. I'm like, hey, I'm in class. Here we are. We're doing it, you know, late at night. And we're podcasters, so you know how it goes. You know, you turn the lights on and action. Here we go. We're live. And so, you know, look, we have social media. We have a couple million people hit our site every month. We look at everything. And one of the big things that you said during, you know, the last couple of years is I found out there's more to life than work. And so we post all sorts of, I mean, look, we're in construction. So I put, you know, engineering, architecture, construction, all that stuff up there. But I also put a lot of other stuff up there because people found that you know, there's more to life than just work. So I put stuff up on there, how to buy the right phone, what's the health insurance to have, how to buy a car. Half my circulation is female. I even have stuff, hey, what are the best hair extensions? Maybe some of the guys that you want to be a girl one day these days, you want to learn where hair extensions, there you go. Okay, I've got some content up there. So but we look at everything. So let me be the judge. Listen, I look at everything. We'll get back to you, you know, TAT, you know, turnaround time, you know, 24, 48 hours. We'll send you the link. You can share it and improve your SEO, which is search engine optimization. It's good for your SEO and it's win-win. So send it to me. We look at everything. Very tough to get in the magazine, but we have all these other outlets that we can put it on, you know, and just like, look, this gentleman, it's all about, you know, timing and business is everything. And boom, and I looked and here he is, you know, telling his story. So if you were going to leave one positive thought or phrase with our listeners out there, what would you, what would it be?
It would be do the damn thing. I mean, you heard my story. There
Yeah.
is no straight line. There is no path. There is no degree you can get to have the career that I've experienced. I've had that because I did the damn thing. I did it wrong. I did it messy. I did it too early. I did it too late. I did it. And you're like you said it, you're gonna learn, but you got to do it.
Yeah. You know, listen, on my business page, I nurture it every night, you know, so I look for, you know, inspirational quotes, and I use athletes, all sorts of quotes, you know, but my other one the other night that I put up, I was looking on Pinterest, going through there, and I saw this one. It just says, I ain't gonna quit. I'm getting it done. All right. So call to action. Action speaks louder than words. Just do it and repeat. Okay.
Yes.
I always like putting the repeat in there because repetition is practice. I always tell all my teams, you will play as you practice. So if you practice hard this week, you're going to play so much better on game day. Okay. Just like in baseball, if you want to be a pitcher, you can't throw 10 pitches. You got to throw thousands of pitches. You want to be a better hitter, you're going to have to do some extra betting. Tiger Woods, man, he has to hit 5,000 golf balls after a tournament or a round. He goes out and hits more. That's how you become an expert. That's how you become a champion. You know, that you've got to give up a lot of, you know, other stuff. So, you know, I'm just like, hey, but you've got to have that drive. And listen, you're going to have to endure some pain. You know, there's going to be some losses. There's going to be some wins. There's going to be some losses. Maybe you're not going to be able to, you know, go out and hang out with your friends. You know, that's the choice of becoming, you know, a leader or, you know, an entrepreneur and scaling your business upwards and stuff. You know, it's an amazing thing. And that's my transformation is I've become a much softer spoken person. And I've read a lot of books. Reading is like one of the best things you can do. I don't care if they're audio books or whatever. Read as much as you can. Take a diary. Get up early. Get stuff that, you know, I get up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. I get everything done that I need to do, and then I do my other stuff. I mean, and it's amazing that you can be productive and you sleep better at night. And but it's you know, I have a drive. I don't even use an alarm clock. I just get up because I'm like, okay, I got to get this stuff done. You know, and that's just the reality of it. So what an awesome quote. So a couple things before we sign off. Number one, if you're out there, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button too. We want to get the algorithms out there so you guys can find out about Jesse and, you know, his books, and, you know, he can talk about plumbing and, you know, with he and his wife, and go watch his podcast on in the morning. And number two, if you're on a construction site, we want you to be safe. Okay, we want you to get home at night so you can see your kids and your wife. Have a nice dinner, get some Z's, get up and do it all again. Okay. And number three, even though it's getting kind of chilly out there, okay, this is the coach talking. Stay hydrated. Okay. I just finished off another bottle of electrolytes, and, you know, probably my second or third one today. I'm doing push-ups all day and sit-ups, and while I'm sitting here standing at my stand-up desk today, I'm sitting right now. But bottom line is, stay hydrated, because if you're not hydrated, you get a headache, and that's when you make mistakes. That's when you get hurt. Okay, so stay safe and drink lots of water, and put some electrolytes, put some powder in there, man. You'll thank me down the road. And then, like I said, hit that like button. We want you to get those algorithms out there. So, well, Jesse, if I come down in San Antonio, I'm no fist punting. I'm gonna shake your hand, man. All right. And I was a baseball player too, so I can still throw and catch, you know. So I pitched, I shortstop, I played catcher. I didn't care. I just liked it, man. You know, I always tell people, you know, like a lacrosse player, okay, I'm a face-off guy. Oh, I'm gonna attack. I'm like, you know, I'll take the guy who knows how to play all the sport positions.
Yep.
Because when you get to college, you might be an attackman, or you might be a pitcher. And guess what? The coach is going to say, hey, Jesse, I know you're the pitcher, but you're going to play left field. Get out there. But I'm a pitcher. No, you're a left fielder right now. Okay. That's the way it is. So you might as well learn how to do everything, because you're going to be much more than being a specialist. Okay. Yeah. You know, or a closer, you know, to put it in baseball terms, you know. So but I look forward to meeting you, and what a great story. Thank you so much for, you know, being a pinch hitter, you know, on my show tonight. It was awesome. You know, you know, it's been a long day. My wife's visiting her mom. She's not feeling good over at Hilton Head in South Carolina. And she said, what are you doing? I go, I got class 7-9. I got to do a podcast. She's like, oh, why that's late? I'm like, no, hey, listen, I got to get it done, man. You know, I want to know my emails going out on Wednesday. So, well, listen, everybody out there, have a great rest of the week. And a couple of weeks, like I said, you got Halloween. A couple of weeks later, you got Thanksgiving, and boom, we're going to close this year out. And listen, it's been a wild ride in 2023. I have learned so much, business, digital. It's been, I had just had a couple, an unbelievable event in New York a couple of weeks ago. I just put all the videos up, and I'm going to start doing all the shorts and all that other stuff that I'm learning. And listen, have a great week, and just stay positive, have fun, have a smile on your face. And like Jesse said, communication is the best thing you can do. Stick a sock in, listen with your ears, and I swear to God, your team you'll see it's not going to happen overnight, but little by little, you will see the transformation, and it's an amazing thing. And so I can't wait to read your books. I'm definitely going to get them. So Jesse, say goodbye from San Antonio.
Goodbye from San Antonio, people.
And I'm going to sign off here from Sugar Hill, Georgia, which is about 25 miles north of Atlanta, just below the Beaufort Dam by Lake Lanier. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Jesse, awesome. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, man. Thank you so much. Ciao, everybody. We'll see you next time.